name's Felicia Rose, and this is the Scars and Stillness podcast. Thank you for coming back and spending time with me. First and foremost, I wanted to apologize to everyone that it's been such a long time since I've been able to put out an episode of the podcast. Scars and Stillness is really important to me, along with obviously my writing and being an author. And I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience and continued support um, since it's been a good chunk of time since I have been able to be here. So that's the most important thing for me to say, probably with today's episode. But I did think that it was important today to just do kind of a check in episode because it has been such a long time since I have been here. So I just wanted to check in and kind of let everyone know where I'm at, how the books are doing, and new projects and faith and all the good stuff. So welcome. So kind of jumping right into it. Yeah, like I had mentioned, um, life has been lifing pretty good for me for a while now. In previous episodes, I've talked about um, obviously faith, right? And then I've been doing like classes and things like that to get a deeper foundation with God. And that's been something that's been really important to me. And I actually thought that it would be kind of cool to, it was an 8-week class. I still have a couple weeks left, but I thought it would be cool to maybe do an episode per week that kind of goes over what I learned in my class. Because I feel like it's such cool information that a lot of people could probably get a lot out of it. Um, Even seasoned Christians um, just gives you a new perspective on things. So I think I'm gonna do that. Starting next week, I'll probably start with week one of the foundations class episodes. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. As for life, like I have discussed in, I don't even know what episode it was, but I've been talking for a while where I felt convictions, where and we know the difference between convictions and condemnation and guilt. Convictions is just something that is put on our spirits about the specific problem, not the person, but the problem. And condemnation is the opposite of that, right? Condemnation and guilt is it attacks the person, like you're so terrible or, whatever the case is. But I've been feeling convicted for quite a long time about the same thing. And I'm not going to get into detail with anything because as much as I love you guys, I still value my own privacy. So I'm going to just kind of keep it to myself a little bit. But I've been feeling convicted about some things in my life, and I have prayed about it a great deal for many, 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 many months. And um, the thing that I've noticed about some convictions is that sometimes if you ignore them or you kind of just like push them down, they don't really go away. At least not mine. They kind of always seem to just be there, like in the back of your mind, just kind of festering about, like whatever it is that you're feeling convicted about. So, obviously, through a lot of time and prayer, I've thought about my life and what it is that I need to do to feel less convicted about a certain situation and more connected to God um, in my life and putting Him in charge. And so I was able to kind of move forward with what I felt was right in that situation. And it's been pretty rough. It's been kind of a hard journey for everybody, but one day at a time. But I know that sometimes, especially when you kind of are used to like being in control or you're used to having the weight of your family on your shoulders or whatever, but it's a little bit harder to kind of listen to your own like convictions, you know? One of my hardest things too is surrender. Like I don't have a problem surrendering my life to God by any means. Like I'm like, cool, take it. Take everything. I don't want it. Go ahead. But the hard part for me is control. Like surrendering control to God is not easy for me. And I think that like for many years being like, you kind of being, like, a single mom and, like, being used to, like, having to kind of make all the decisions, you get used to being kind of a control freak, especially when you've been in relationships where you feel completely and totally out of control. I think it's kind of normal to an extent to, like, grasp onto control, and so for me, when I'm wanting to live a God-focused, God-centered life, being able to submit and surrender full control has been probably the hardest part of my journey so far because I do trust God. I do know that He has my best interest at heart. I know that He's working everything out for my greatest good. And I know that I need to surrender everything. There's literally no reason or point for me to worry or be anxious about anything that's literally in scripture. But it does not make it any easier for me because there are parts of me that feel like I have to figure this out. I have to, know all the answers and get everything, good to go so that way I can move on from this stressor and I can focus on like something else to just prevent any kind of like casualties or harm towards me or my family. Like, so being kind of a control freak is a little rough when it comes to surrender. But that's one of the major things that I've been working on is just completely surrendering all to God, including control, and just letting Him, like, do His thing, um, and I trust Him through it. Even if situations in my life to me or to other people don't make any sense, um, I'm just doing, what I've been convicted, and I'm surrendering, and I'm doing what I feel like is best for me. And that's another thing that's really hard is when you're used to being like a caretaker or like the glue to your family or whatever, it is really hard to put ourselves first. Like I have the weight of everyone on me, which I have to surrender to God anyway because I'm not supposed to be carrying everything by myself. So I surrender all the weight and desires and burdens and what ifs and spirals to Him and let Him take control of that. And then I just bind to my own self peace and protection and, grace and all the things, but still being able to like put my needs on the main burners alongside my family is usually quite challenging for me. So just having convictions and kind of like just doling them down, minimizing them, just like, oh, they'll go away. It's probably nothing for months and months and months and months. It actually doesn't go away and it gets a lot harder and then it gets a lot more pressing on you, just like a tremendous weight pressing down on you. And I knew that, like, regardless of what anyone thinks or feels about me or that my situations or my convictions or whatever else, it's literally no one's business anyway. But it's important for me to think of myself sometimes. And it's important for me to have that deep connected relationship with God, and I feel like if this particular thing is helping me move towards God, then it's something that I have to see through. And doesn't mean it's easy, like convictions sometimes, if not quite a lot, are not easy. It's not something that is easy to kind of give into. They're challenging. And so that's kind of where I've been at the last however long. Is just kind of working towards my own stuff and trying to make God the front runner of my life and trusting Him throughout every little step of the way, even if it's baby steps, you know. And and of course, like being a mom and focusing on my kids, and there's been a lot of stuff for them too, lots of change and things going on that I need to be present for, and so which I love being a mom. It's like one of my absolute favorite things, and my kids are so cool. Like, it's not like a fake cool. Like my kids are cool. My daughter, she's going to be 13 next month. It's disgusting. I don't even know. I don't even know how that happened, but she is literally like one of the coolest people I think I've ever met. Um and I'm not just saying that. Like she's really cool, has a cool personality, and it's been such a joy and a pleasure and a headache sometimes, you know, to be her mom. And she is so much like me that to an extent, it's an honor that she, looks up to me so much and that she's a lot like me. But another side of that is it's terrifying because I know my heart. I know my heart and how sometimes I have a habit, if not all the time, but I have a habit of like just taking care of everyone and not taking care of myself or being that fix it person where like I can fix them and and then you end up getting hurt in the process and she's got a really big heart. I've already seen it. So it kind of makes me worry, but I'm hoping that, God can help lead her to make the right choices and decisions and because life is not easy, especially at that age, like 13, 14 were some of the hardest years I had ever went through. Granted, we had a lot of really traumatic things happen during my 13th year especially. Um, but still, I've even heard from people who are like, "Well, I had a relatively normal, childhood and 13 was a nightmare." So like 13 is a hard year anyway. But I've just been really praying for my kids that they'll like kind of transform into who God wants them to be and to help them make the right choices and decisions because one little decision can shape and affect our life profoundly. And none of us, people like us now who are grown, we look back on our lives and there are things that, you often hear people say in conversations where like, oh, I wish I could go back and change this certain thing or this certain thing. And so it's just been really important for me to, you know, give them advice and be a good mom, but also a new challenge that I'm facing is that, my kid is growing up, and so I'm trying to kind of show her that I respect that she's growing up. Not too much because I'm quite a protective parent, but just enough to show her that like I'm putting my trust in her and that giving her a little bit more responsibility. And I'm hoping that, she makes the right choices and decisions and I guess we'll find out. And obviously God will be there through it, through it all. But so yeah, just kind of focusing on life lately. Faith and family has been my biggest things. And, we've had kind of like some sicknesses going around here where I live. And so it's kind of hit the family hard at some points in time. And so just kind of resting and recovering from sicknesses. And, we're human and everybody needs time and rest and healing. So, um, but it's nice. It's nice to be back and to, focus on the podcast and get back into writing. As mentioned, I am kind of reviving my original book that I ever wrote, which was originally it was the Soul Tide series, is what I had named it, and it took me 3 years to write, handwrite, and then obviously I put it all on the computer. But I thought it would be cool to kind of bring it back and um, rewrite it and kind of revamp it and dissect it a little bit, but keep the core and the heart of the story the same. I did know that I wanted to change the name of it. I felt kind of like little convictions here and there about the name of the story. So um, I ended up changing it from the Soul Tide to the Heart Tide series, which I'm happy with that. I haven't been able to kind of pick that up and start working on that for probably a few weeks. For a while, I was working on it like consistently, and then of course, life and things have happened, so I wasn't able to do that. But it's really important to me to pick that back up. Um, the Dying Roses series is they're done. They've been published for quite a long time now. Really happy and proud of them. Um, I did have a couple of people reach out to me and ask me if this is going to be a continued story. And it's a no. So these are the only books that will be in the Dying Roses series. And technically there are 3 books in the series. Um, and Ashes of James is like the in-between book. So it's my novella book of the series. It's kind of the other character's perspective during the 2 books. So it's kind of cool, but that's kind of like the in-between book of the story. But yeah, no, Dying Roses is done. I'm not gonna go any farther with the story. The story's it's completed. But yes, I am very passionate about writing. I've always been really big into writing, and so moving forward with new projects is something that's obviously important to me. And this podcast is really important to me, and just being able to be real and authentic with you guys and letting you know that like sometimes life happens, but we still show up for our kids and we attempt to show up for ourselves, like self-care is something that we should probably all work on a little bit more, and I have never been great at that, but I do want to try to get better about self-love and self-care and, you know, kind of also realizing that my needs are equally as important as my children and stuff like that. And so it's kind of where I've been at the last however long. But yeah, so other than that, life is life. And as mentioned, I think it'd be cool starting next week to share with you guys what I've learned in my foundations class. And so next week can be week 1 of the class, and I'll just kind of talk and go over everything that I learned in that class, and then we'll kind of move it forward throughout the 8 weeks. Um, it's been amazing, the perspectives and like the closeness you feel and that you get. Is really great, and so I hope that other people can get as much out of it as I did. I'm actually kind of bummed out that it's ending because I really love the teacher. He's an older gentleman, but he's been you can just tell that he's just got so much wisdom to pour into people, and so I'm just really grateful that I was able to at least have the experience of being in the class, and so that way maybe through me I can teach other people, you know, kind of how to move forward in their faith. And obviously, again, I'm not perfect. I'm just a woman who like has lived a life that sometimes has not been too kind to me, and I'm just trying to move forward. And now that I've made God the number one priority in my life, I'm trying to move forward in faith. Um, and I can feel the daily change. Like I can feel that I'm becoming a new woman, and I'm becoming a woman that is completely and fully the daughter of God. That I have um, expectations now in the people that I surround myself with. Like I expect people to, respect kind of where I'm at and how I feel, but also I don't really want to surround myself with people who are non-believers and um or who are anti God, and they're more worldly. That's a hard word. More worldly, and that's one of the things I've been learning with my faith is that, we fight battles every day, and as a human, we're all serving something. Whether we realize it or not, we're all serving something. We just have to figure out what it is that we're serving, and I would much rather serve my God than serve any earthly thing, any earthly possession. Because I don't know about you guys, but like this world sucks. Like people are meaner, like the internet has gotten just mean, and it's more about hurting and harming and tearing people down than coming together and having faith and having love. And like it's important for me to focus more on encouragement and my faith and moving forward in a positive way than earthly things that are just going to steal, rob, and destroy my life. So it's kind of where I've been at. And I'm happy to share what I learned in the class with all of you. So I'm pretty excited for next week to be able to kind of come on and let you guys know what I've learned. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. Not a super long episode today. I just wanted to say hi and that I'm here and I'm okay and things are okay. I've just, I'm a human, and sometimes kind of disconnecting and unplugging is sometimes the easiest way for me to recharge and to focus on the priorities in my life. Obviously, scars and stillness to me is a great priority, but mental health and my spiritual health and all that kind of stuff is number one importance. Of course, my kids and stuff like that. But I just really wanted to thank everyone for sticking it out with me, because I know that I want to try to post every Tuesday, but sometimes life makes that a little challenging, and but I still want to show up when I can. Um, and I hope to see all of you next week, where we can kind of dive deeper and start our notes on foundations class. I hope you guys have a really great rest of your week. And again, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.